Hi everyone, my name is Angela and I will be your teacher for this online IELTS English course. My full name is Dr. Angela Tiziana Tarantini. Yes, I am indeed a doctor, but everybody calls me Angela, so feel free to do so. In this course, I will give you the tools that you need in order to successfully pass the IELTS test with the score that you need. Now, the IELTS test is not a pass or fail test, but is a test that you pass with a score which goes from 0, which of course we're not going to even take into consideration, to 9. It is a challenging test, but it is not as difficult as people think. Um, we will we will familiarize with the test structure. And once we are very, very familiar with the text structure, it will be a lot easier to know what is expected of you. And once you know what is expected of you during a test, it is much easier to get the score that you need. So, what is IELTS? Where can you take the IELTS test? How is the IELTS test structured? Stands for International English Language Testing System. But like every other language test, it does not really assess your language level. What it does is it gives you an idea of how you are with the 4 micro skills. So the IELTS test will evaluate all 4 micro skills: reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Once we familiarize with the test structure, and we know what kind of questions are asked and how the answers are supposed to be, then it will be a lot easier for you to pass the test with the score that you need. Now, let's look at the test structure. So, the IELTS test is divided into 2 different modules: the general and the academic training module. It depends on which one you need to do. If it's for immigration purposes, it could be just the general one. If it is to have access to tertiary education or secondary education, you might need the academic module. During this course, we will look at both so that you can have the tools to take the test successfully, regardless of which one you need to do. If there will be specific lessons targeted towards the general module or the academic module. So feel free to choose the one that you need. There are some differences between the two. Of course, the academic module is a bit more difficult, but we will see that as we go. But right now, let me give you a general overview of what the test entails. So, you will have a reading, a listening, a writing, and a speaking part. The reading is the same for both, in the sense that in both cases, for the general and the academic test, you will have 3 texts and 60 minutes to answer the questions. The listening part will be 40 questions, and that is the same for the general and the academic module. The writing task is divided into 2 different tasks. For the general, you will have task number 1, that is a letter writing, and task number 2, that is an essay. Whereas with the academic module, you will have task number 1, that is a graph description, and task number 2 is an essay. And the speaking part is the same for both modules, and you will have to speak anywhere between 11 and 14 minutes. Now, we will go into detail with the test structure. So, the IELTS test used to be the different micro skills will be tested always in the same order. It used to be listening, reading, writing, and speaking. As of today, today is May 2020. As of today, the reading part comes first and the listening part comes second. Uh, Regardless, you'll have to do all of it. So, and it's a very long test and it will be a very long day. So be incredibly patient. Um, when it comes to the test, so I hope you can see what I'm seeing. Um, the test, you will have to book the test in an IELTS center. Um, you have to go on www.ielts.com.au for Australia. Um, if you have any specific, once you enroll for your IELTS test, you will be given some mock exams, some samples with the answers so that you can start practicing. But before you do that, follow me for a few lessons and maybe we'll do some practice. We'll have some practice together and then you will decide when and where to enroll. One thing I wanted to specify, if you have some kind of learning disability, you can contact the IELTS test center where you will take the test and you can ask for an extension on the time. You will be granted 25% more time than other people. And that is either the case when you have a learning disability, such as dyslexia, or maybe some kind of anxiety disorder, as long as you can certify as long as a doctor can certify that you actually need that extra time, you can ask for it. But it has to be, you got to present a doctor's certificate for that. Same thing for the computer-based test, because the IELTS used to be written physically, pen and paper. Now there is also the possibility of having a computer-based test. Again, you will have to contact the test center for it. Anyway, now before we move any further, I want to look at the content of the IELTS test so that we familiarize with the structure. Now, as I said, as of today, the reading task comes first. It could change. As I said, I remember when I had to do it a couple of times for immigration purposes, and I've been teaching it forever. And last time I did it was 2017, and the listening came first. A student of mine has done it recently, and she told me that the reading came first. So this might change. This is subject to change. But as I said, regardless of the order, you will have to do everything. So let's look at how it works. I will start from the reading because I know that today the reading comes first. So, how is the reading divided? There will be 3 different reading passages in the reading module with a total of 2,000, anywhere between 2,000 to 2,750 words for the academic module, and instead between 2,000 and 2,500 words for the general training module. All your answers will have to be transferred onto the answer sheet. So allow 5 to 10 minutes to transfer your answers onto the answer sheet. Now, you will have 3 different texts, and they will change according to whether you take the academic module or the general training module. Now, let's look at the text for the academic module. They're usually taken from magazines, journals, books, and newspaper, which have been written for a non-specialist audience. They deal with issues which are interesting and accessible to candidates entering undergraduate or postgraduate courses or seeking professional registration. At least one contains detailed logical argument. One text may contain non-verbal materials such as diagram, graphs, and illustrations. With the general training module, texts are taken from notices, advertisements, official documents, booklets, newspaper, instruction manuals, leaflets, timetables, books, and magazines. The first section is called Social Survival, contains text relevant to basic linguistic survival in English. The second section, Training Survival, focuses on the training context, either training itself or welfare needs. This section involves a text or texts of more complex language. And finally, the third section, General Reading, involves reading longer, more complex texts. Now, what kind of questions will you be asked? There are different type of questions, different type of tasks. So they could be multiple choice, short answer questions, sentence completion, note completion, summary completion, labeling a diagram, table flow, or chart completion, headings, yes, no, not given, true, false, not given, locating information, classification, and matching. I will look at ones that are not intuitive. My first piece of advice for both academic and general training module is, first of all, you will have 3 texts, right? And you will be allocated 60 minutes per for the whole reading module, which means that it's very, very important to time yourself. 60 minutes means 20 minutes per single text, right? So you have to consider, however, that you want to have 5 to 10 minutes, 5 minutes to transfer your answers onto the answer sheet. So you might want to do 18, 17 minutes per text. And yes, my first advice is exactly to time yourself, because if you do not, you might waste more time on one text and then not have enough time for the second text. So how do you know if, how can you optimize the time? My first and best advice is, first of all, read the questions first, regardless of what type of text, of what type of module you want to take, whether the general or the academic. Read the questions first, because what happens if you read the questions first before going on to the text, then you already know what you're looking for. You already know where to find the specific information that is required, be it a multiple choice, a short answer, a yes, no, true, false, not given. You already know what to look for, and that will save an incredible amount of time, which you do not realize now. But I encourage you to try and see the difference. That's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice, and again, this really depends on the person, but my second piece of advice would be to start from text number 3. You will be given 3 texts and 60 minutes, and how you allocate the time and how you use your time is really up to you. So my advice is start from text number 3, because text number 3 will be a bit more difficult. And if you need a couple of extra minutes, you might want to spend them on text number 3 rather than text number 1. Text number 1 will be a very easy one. And towards the end, you would be tired and you will be maybe stressed out. So it's probably better if you start with text number 3, which is more difficult, when you're more focused, when you have more time, and then you move to text number 2 and text number 1. However, if you suffer from performance anxiety and you need a boost of confidence, then maybe it's better to start from text number 1. I'll give you both options so that you know this is what I would do personally. In any case, whether you start from text number 1 or from text number 3 and move your way upwards, read the questions first. I will never stress this enough. Read the questions first so you know exactly where to find the information. As you read the text, you might even want to mark where, oh God, this is question number 1. Yeah, okay, let's write that down. So when you go to, when you move on to answering questions, that will be so much quicker. And again, I encourage you to try that. Now, multiple choice, short answer question, sentence completion, note completion, summary completion, labeling a diagram, table flow chart completion. These are quite intuitive. Headings, again, intuitive, but we will see all of this throughout the course. Let me move on to yes, no, not given, and true, false, not given. Locating information that's why it's important to read the questions first, because then this one is one that will go so much quicker when you read the questions first. Classification and matching, again, intuitive. But let me look at yes, no, not given, or true, false, not given. So we are used to having true and false, right? With true and false questions, we know that if it's true, it's true, and if it's not true, it's false. That is not the case with the IELTS exam. With the IELTS exam, we know that it is true only when it is specifically when it's specifically said in the text that it's true. The false not given or the no not given is a bit tricky. So it is false only when the information given in the text contradicts the question explicitly. If not, is a not given. Let me rephrase this. So, actually, let me give you an example. The text says, the sky is blue. Question. The sky is blue. Or, is the sky blue? Yes. True. Easy. Text. The sky was not blue, was no longer blue because of the bushfire. Text. Question. The sky was red. True, false, or not given? This is a not given because even though you can infer that the sky may have been red because of the bushfire, the text does not explicitly say so. So it's a not given. The sky may not have been blue because it was foggy. Yeah? So this is something you have to be very careful with. So only if it explicitly contradicts the text, then is false. If not, is not given. All right? And be very careful because there will be a number of questions in the IELTS reading passage that will be a not given one when you would think they're false because you can infer something. But that is not always the case, okay? Just be very, very careful with this.